Let's face it, dealing with negative people, it can absolutely just drain you.
Oh, completely. And it's more than just a feeling.
Right. We were looking at this UCLA research, and get this, just 15 minutes with someone negative can flood your system with stress hormones. And it lasts for like 8 hours.
8 hours. Wow. That's basically a whole workday affected by one short interaction. It's like this slow-acting poison for your brain.
Exactly. A slow burn on your well-being. And just
Ugh.
cutting ties, well, that's not always easy or even possible,
Not
right?
at all. So the question becomes, how do you protect yourself? How do you shield your mental health without, becoming cold or totally disconnected?
That's exactly what we wanted to explore in this deep dive. We've looked at research from places like UCLA, Stanford.
Yeah, and also insights from Harvard negotiation studies, even some Army psychology techniques. Really fascinating stuff.
And kind of counterintuitive, too. Like those Stanford studies, they found toxicity is actually more contagious than positivity.
Which is wild when you think about it. It really highlights why we need strategies.
So how does this toxicity actually, mess with our brains? What's happening up there?
Well, our sources point to basically three main ways. First, there's what you could call cognitive contamination.
Cognitive contamination. Like,
Their negativity gets stuck in your head. It becomes this repetitive mental loop of their complaints or their outlook.
ugh, yeah, like a bad song you can't get out of your head.
Yeah.
Okay, what else?
Then there's hypervigilance, your brain's threat detector, the amygdala. It basically stays on high alert.
So you feel kind of on edge,
Yeah,
even after they're gone.
exactly. You're constantly scanning for the next negative thing. It's exhausting. And the third one is mirror neuron drain.
Mirror neurons, those are the ones that help us empathize, right?
Right. But with negative people, we can unconsciously start mimicking their dysfunction. We
Wow.
sort of absorb their stress or their posture, their tone.
Wow. Okay, so our brains are basically getting hijacked.
In a way, yes. But the good news is we can fight back.
Which brings us to the shield system. We found this really practical 4-level protection system based on the research.
Yeah, it's designed to give you tools for different stages. Level 1 is all about preparation. We're calling it the emotional hazmat suit.
Huh. I like that. So this is before you even interact.
Precisely, it's mental armor. So
Yeah.
things like setting a clear intention beforehand, maybe just telling yourself, okay, I'll stay grounded, or I won't get drawn in.
Simple, but probably effective. What else?
Visualizing a shield, like literally picture a protective barrier around you, and also time boxing the interaction. Decide, okay, I'll chat for 10 minutes, then I need to leave, or I'll leave at 4.15.
Having an exit plan. That makes sense.
And it's interesting, Army psychologists actually use similar mental prep techniques with POWs to help them maintain their sanity in really extreme situations.
Wow, okay. So that mental prep is powerful. All right, so you've got your hazmat suit on. Now you're in the conversation. What happens then?
That's level 2, the neutrality protocol. This is about diffusing the negativity during the interaction.
Okay, how do you do that?
Couple of key tactics. One is the broken record technique. You just calmly repeat a neutral phrase like, I understand that's your perspective, or I'll need to think about that.
So you don't argue, you just repeat.
Exactly. Another is fogging. You find maybe one tiny speck of truth in what they're saying, or just acknowledge their feeling without agreeing with the whole negative narrative. That sounds frustrating, for example.
Acknowledging without validating the negativity. Clever.
And the third part of this level is the information diet. Just share less. Less personal data means less for them to latch onto or twist.
Right. Don't give them ammunition. Does this stuff actually work?
Well, Harvard negotiation research suggests these kinds of neutral de-escalating techniques can reduce conflict by something like 60%.
60%. That's huge.
Yeah.
Okay, so you survive the interaction, but maybe you still feel kind of icky afterwards.
Very common. That's where level 3 comes in, the energy cleanse.
Yeah.
This is your post-interaction recovery.
Right, got to wash that negativity off.
A few practical things. Sometimes a literal physical shake-off helps. Just shake your hands, your arms, release that tension.
Okay, like physically shaking it out.
Yep. Then there's cognitive reframing. Remind yourself, okay, this says more about them and whatever they're going through than it does about me.
Shifting the perspective, taking it less personally.
Exactly. And finally, positive replacement. Call or text someone who lifts you up. Listen to upbeat music. Intentionally replace that negative residue with something positive.
That makes sense. Like how ER nurses apparently have little routines to decompress between really tough cases?
It's a similar principle, yeah. Actively clearing out the stress.
Okay. But what if? What if none of this is enough? What if someone is just consistently toxic?
That leads us to level 4, the strategic exit. Sometimes disengagement is the healthiest option.
How do you know when it's time for that?
Look for indicators. We found a few common ones in the research. There's the 3-strike rule. Are they consistently violating your boundaries, even after you've tried to set them?
Okay, repeated offenses.
Yeah. Then there's the 24-hour test. How do you feel a full day after interacting with them? If you're still feeling drained or upset 24 hours later, that's a big red flag.
That's a good benchmark. What else?
Do a cost-benefit audit. Be really honest with yourself. What is this relationship truly costing you in terms of your energy, your peace, your time? And what, if anything, are you getting back?
That requires some real honesty.
It does. But framing it isn't about being harsh. Sometimes, as one source put it, the most loving act is releasing with grace. Walking away isn't always failure. Sometimes it's necessary self-preservation.
This whole 4-level system feels really actionable. And you mentioned some specific therapist hacks, too.
Yeah, quick insights from mental health pros. One is the 3-question filter. When faced with negativity, ask yourself, is this true? Is this helpful? Is this mine to carry?
Ooh, I like that. Is this mine to carry? That's powerful.
Isn't it? Another is a perspective shift. Try, if possible, to frame the person as someone who is maybe fighting invisible battles. It doesn't excuse behavior, but it can help detach.
Adds a layer of compassion, maybe, for your own sake.
Exactly. And finally, an empowerment mantra. Just reminding yourself, I control my participation. You always have a choice about how much you engage.
I control my participation. Simple. Okay, so for you listening, how can you start putting this into practice?
Our sources suggested a kind of 21-day toxicity detox. Not super intense, but just a way to build the habit.
How does that work?
Maybe identify one interaction you often find draining. Then, each day, try practicing just one level of the shield system. Maybe one day, focus on your hazmat suit intention setting. Another day, try the broken record.
And journal about it.
Yeah, just notice the energy difference. See what works for you. It's about building that awareness and those protective skills over time.
It sounds like a manageable way to start taking back control. So the final thought here.
Remember, you're not a trash can.
Right. Stop letting people dump their negativity in you. Think about that. What's
Yes.
one small step you can take, maybe even today, to start shielding yourself just a little bit more?